got to talk some deadline predictions here. Okay.
Yep.
We're going to go through top 5 players most likely to get traded. Again, we don't know for sure, but we're just going to go through.
Or do we?
Maybe. Hey, little insider info right there. Okay. I'm going to give you a player. You tell me where you think they're going to go.
Deal.
Okay. We're going to start with Cody Bellinger.
Ooh.
Where is he going?
Dodger great. Cub legend. Cody Bellinger, who's, by the way, so back.
I know.
What a year he's having. I mean, he's back. He's not back to MVP level with like power wise, but hitting over 300. I mean, I think 14, 15 bombs. He's going to be a big pickup for somebody if he does indeed get traded. And you know who I think does it? You know who I think pulls the trigger? I think the Yankees.
Ooh.
And the more I was thinking about this, I could see the Yankees being the perfect long-term fit for Cody Bellinger. So I think they trade for him.
Okay.
And he's on a 1-year deal. And he's done more than I think what the Cubs could have even imagined. I mean, they paid him like he was somewhere in between that MVP player and the player he's been the last few years, and he's been closer to that MVP player. I mean, since June 24th, he's batting .446 with an OPS over 1,100. I mean, he's on fire. I think the Yankees get it done. I don't think the Yankees go as big. You know, there was that rumor out there about the Yankees and Shohei. I don't think that happens. But I could see them going after a guy like Bellinger, who I do think is a good long-term fit there for the Yankees. You know, in center field for now, and until their top prospect, Jason Dominguez, comes along, then you can move him, and he has the flexibility of playing first base, can play outfield. Obviously, can DH whenever. Great defender, though. I think he's a really good fit for that lineup. And the important part here with the Yankees is they have to keep playing well. It's been bad. They play well against the Royals, so they're still obviously within reach. You get Aaron Judge back. You add Bellinger. That's the offensive bat that this team was so desperately missing. We talked so much this year about how, yeah, it's great the Yankees added Carlos Rodon, but how much different is their lineup? Cody Bellinger makes the lineup very different. I could see that happening.
I also think that his vibe is going to work in New York. Obviously, here in LA, Hollywood did great. He understands big market, big media. I like it.
Yeah.
I like that.
We'll see.
All around. Okay, let's move on to our next player, Lance Lynn.
Lance Lynn, one of probably quite a few White Sox that's going to get moved. If I had to say,
right? They're going to like clear house, right?
They should.
They should.
They should. Who the hell knows what that organization's going to do, though? They always keep you on your toes, and not in a good way. You're just always wondering, what are they going to do? Are we going to go from bad to worse, or what are we going to do?
Yes,
you got a pitcher in a market where pitchers are going to be heavily coveted, and there's not a ton of top-tier pitchers out there. So what's going to happen is a lot of teams, or at least some, will be willing to overpay to get what they need to for this year. And I'm not saying this team is going to overpay. I just think the pitcher market is interesting this year because you do have a lot of teams out there that are really good, that are just missing pitching, but there's not a ton out there, but they're going to be willing to give up a good bit to get it because it puts them over the top this year. One of those teams, in my opinion, is where I think Lance Lynn lands, the Arizona Diamondbacks, who have two really good pitchers right now, a rest of the rotation that is not very good. You have Zach Gallen, you have Merrill Kelly, and then a big drop-off, and a Lance Lynn type of veteran arm that's pitched in big games. Obviously, not great this year. Not great. However, his numbers, his advanced analytics, all is there. Everything is – Lance Lynn has been Lance Lynn for – we know what he is. He's going to throw a lot of fastballs. They're all going to move in different directions. They'll be straight. They'll cut. They'll sink. He does everything with his fastball. He knows how to get outs, and he knows how to get outs in big games, and he knows how to eat innings. And a Diamondbacks team desperately could use that veteran starter in the rotation to go with that really, really young team.
I like that. Well, let's stay with another White Sox pitcher. As you mentioned, they might be offloading quite a bit here. Lucas Giolito.
They might be offloading quite a bit, and they should, because you have these arms like LYNN, like Giolito, that you should be able to get some pretty good returns for. You're not going to be getting, 2 top 3 prospects in an organization, but guys that could certainly help your organization win in the future, and I think they should do that, and Giolito is one of them. I think Lucas Giolito goes to the Orioles. Ooh. Is my prediction. Another team, very young, offensively is there and ready. Pitching-wise, needs some help. I think Giolito is a great fit there. This is a fit, and obviously, like you said at the beginning of this, Alex, who knows?
Who knows? Maybe.
Who knows? But this is a fit that I've felt like for a while now. When the White Sox got off to that tough start, and you first start having the first inklings of trade discussions, and for me, my head starts having those conversations in early June, and I'm dumb for doing that. But in early June, I'm thinking, Giolito could be a perfect fit for this Orioles team. So I'll say Giolito to the Orioles.
I like it. Okay, we're going to stay with the arms because, as you mentioned, there's a lot of teams that need pitching. So our next pitcher, Eduardo Rodriguez.
So I think Eduardo Rodriguez, this one in particular is a little bit different because he is under control for longer. He does have an opt-out after 2023, but the contract is for, I believe, 3 more years. Whereas when we're dealing with Giolito and Lance Lynn and those guys, it's different. So the return you're going to have to give isn't as steep, right? The Orioles, who are, good right now and ready to win now, just need pitching. They won't have to give up a ton. And we heard them say actually this week that they're not going to give up a ton.
Yep.
With a guy like Eduardo Rodriguez, I think he's a perfect fit for a team like the Cincinnati Reds.
Ooh.
Who are just now starting to come into their own, right? Is this the year that the Reds believe they can get into the playoffs and win it all? I don't think so. But is the next 3 years, the next 5 years, will the Reds be there for all of that? I really believe so. And having a guy that you can have under control and having the talent in the minor leagues that you are able to get a guy like this. They will have to give up a little bit more to get a guy like Eduardo Rodriguez. However, I don't think it's a bad thing to give up a good bit when you already have in that rotation Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo, Andrew Abbott. You could add this guy and have the perfect arm. I understand there's the opt-out there, but if he goes to Cincinnati, obviously as a pitcher, it's not the most fun place to pitch in the world because the ball launches out of there, but the team...
It's exciting.
It's exciting.
They have the future. They have, I think we talked about it a couple weeks ago, the most exciting young group of rookies on that team, and you can feel that they're really taking that next step. Don't you? You would think you want to be a part of something like that.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. And I think that's why the Reds should be willing to give up a little bit more to get a guy in and prove to him, hey, this is a place you want to be. Look how fun this is.
Yeah.
And then he's not going to exercise his opt-out. He wants to be there for 3 years and be a part of that team that obviously has Ellie and Matt McClain and Spencer Steer and Encarnacion Strand. And, there's so much fun.
Yeah.
I think that's a great fit.
I like that, too. A lot of these arms where you see them going to are young teams.
Yep.
So that's good. That's what you need.
Yep.
Okay. Very last, but not least, another arm. Talking a lot of pitchers here, possibly on the trade market. Marcus Stroman.
Yeah, Marcus Stroman is the top arm available at the deadline right now. And as you mentioned, a lot of pitchers, but that's often what we see is teams looking for one big arm to add, right? So pitchers are more often moved. Not that offensive guys aren't, obviously Bellinger, and there's some big offensive guys. But Stroman, I think, is the biggest arm at this trade deadline. And I believe that the Houston Astros are the perfect fit for him. Here's why.
Okay.
They have what it takes to go get him. And we've seen them do this in the past. We were just talking about this. How aggressive are the Astros going to be? I always think they're aggressive to the point of what makes us better in the ALCS and the World Series. They have the benefit of not thinking like a lot of these other teams do, these really young teams of, well, how much of our future do we sacrifice to benefit us right now? Well, the Astros are in the right now, right? And they still do have the benefit. I saw a stat recently over the last decade. It was a percentage of teams' draft picks that make it to the major leagues. And you can say what you want about the Houston Astros, and I understand why they aren't liked, and I do get it. But the Astros are at the very top of that list. So we can talk about what's made the Astros so good, and we can make trash can jokes all we want. But when you look at it all the way down to its root, it's because they've drafted better than every other 29 teams in baseball. So we can be in the midst of this incredible run of the Houston Astros, yet they can still have pieces available that they're able to move and that other teams would like to have, and able to add on to this core and able to potentially go win another World Series. And right now, Marcus Stroman is the perfect fit for that Astros team that is ready to win right now, and their concern at the trade deadline is going to be, what can we add to win that 7-game series in the ALCS, and what can we do to win the World Series? And I think that's the perfect fit that puts them over the top.
So obviously the Astros just think differently than every team.
I think they have the benefit of thinking differently because they know they're going to get there. And this year it might not be because of winning the division, but if I had to say right now, I would probably pick the Astros to win the division, but they just trust themselves in the playoffs. They know how good their core is. They know they can win in the playoffs. Of course they do. They just always go out and add that starting pitcher at the deadline that puts them over the top. I mean, let's say they get into a wild card. Let's say they get in that way. Who bets against, again, a team with Altuve, Bregman, Yordan, Kyle Tucker, Jeremy Pena in the playoffs? You don't. You just need that extra arm that puts you over the top, and I think Stroman is that perfect fit.
This is where the experience, the confidence, the mindset, everything about a team who's been there so many times has the advantage over everybody else.
Well, we heard it from a guy that who could speak to this better than our new colleague, Derek Jeter, who got there in the playoffs a million times. And he himself said that confidence in the playoffs, you can't mimic that. And when he was asked recently who the team to beat in the American League is, without hesitation, he said it's the Astros. They get into the playoffs, and they know how to win in the playoffs. And his teams, and those Yankees teams, knew how to do that better than anybody for 2 decades plus. Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be fun.
It is going to be fun. We got a week.